So today we have the pleasure to talk with Anna Murphy, singer and multi-instrumentalist from Cellar Darling. Hi, Anna, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good. The sun is shining, and yeah. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Here it's not so sunny, it's a bit cloudy.
Oh,
Winter came a bit too suddenly after the summer. But anyway,
yeah.
okay, let's start. So you released your second album, The Spell, last March, and I have to say that it's one of my candidates for the album of the year. So my
Oh,
congratulations,
wow.
first of
Thank
all.
you so much. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah, I wanted to know or ask you what inspired you to create the story of the album.
It's kind of hard to say because, like with many things, like with melodies, things just kind of pop into my head, and I don't really know where they come from. I think it all happens subconsciously somehow. But the motive that the concept album is based on, that is by no means my invention. It's actually based on a very old motive that has been around, that has been depicted in the Renaissance art for a very long time, in poetry and in art, and that is Death and the Maiden. And I wanted to create my own story with this motive, and I pretty much immediately came up with the story of a girl that falls in love with death and cannot actually reach him because death casts a spell of eternal life upon her. And that's kind of how the whole thing came about. We had the story and the track list before we wrote the music, and this is something we've never done before. So, yeah, it was a pretty intense process.
Yeah, and I think that the audio version was very enjoyable and helped me to understand better what's going on behind the lyrics and where did the idea of recording
Cool.
those introductions came from.
Well, the thing is, like when a band is recording an album in the studio, right? This kind of terrifying notion comes up of the label asking you what you're going to do as bonus material. And it's something that you never actively think about because you're so engrossed in the whole process of creating the album and not with, what are we going to do as bonus material. And what I didn't want to do is just, create some instrumental versions or covers or whatever because it wouldn't really fit. And then we thought it might be nice to just have an audio book where because I wanted to write down the story from A to Z anyways. And this just seemed like a really fitting idea. And I think the people appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, and well, in addition to the to those that's audiobook, you created these animated videos for most of the songs that have already been released in YouTube, for
Mm-hmm.
example, and you recently won the Best Video of the Year award in the Progressive Music Awards. Can you tell us about that
Yeah,
experience that you had last week?
I think it was the most exciting day of the year. I'm still kind of recovering from it. I mean, we really honestly couldn't believe that we won. Considering, people like Devin Townsend were nominated. It was so amazing, and it kind of proved what a supportive fan base that we have. And at the event itself, I was so nervous to, go on a stage and have a speech on the same stage as people like John Petrucci or Nick Mason from Pink Floyd. And I met the singer from Yes, and it was also surreal. I still can't really believe that we were there, and it was an amazing evening. But we drank very much, so I had a 2-day hangover after it.
Okay, well, that sounds cool. So, well, in addition to the videos, you worked with Costin in the artwork for each of the album songs, which you can see in the vinyl, and also you're selling those artwork prints in your website. And I wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
how closely did you work with Costin to get for him to get the concept right?
Yeah, that was actually a very interesting process because what I didn't want to do is tell him what to do because, I have no visual talents in that regard. I take care of the music and the lyrics, and that's already so much work. I wouldn't really want to decide on anything else. And Costin is such an amazing artist, and it would be really a pity to restrain him in any way. I just wanted him to have his vision and do what he feels is right. So the only thing I actually provided him with was a basic outline of the story, the lyrics and the music, and he just went and did his own thing. And amazingly, it just fits perfectly to the vision that I had. So that was a really amazing collaboration.
Yeah, exactly. And well, compared to your previous band, Cellar Darling music showcases a lot more progressive elements. And you mentioned this prog rocks that you met there at the award ceremony. Concept albums are usually linked to prog rock and metal. And do you have any favorite concept albums or prog heroes or something like that?
If I have any favorite concept albums?
Yeah, or progressive bands that are like your heroes.
Oof, I think there's a lot. The thing is, we never categorized ourselves as progressive. It just somehow happened naturally. And I think it's so hard to pinpoint, what is progressive, and because there's so many different artists in that genre. In the end, it just means that you don't really restrain yourself to certain boundaries, or you keep within the limits of, the conventional songwriting. And I've always really enjoyed that type of music. And I think there's way too many artists that I could mention now. But what I could maybe do is tell you about the first artist that I ever listened to that was a big prog hero, and that is Mike Oldfield. He released a song called Tubular Bells, and as a child I just listened to that on repeat, like the whole day. I think in total it lasts like 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that influenced me a great deal, I think.
Yeah, exactly. 70s were the best era for prog rock. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
and actually, yeah, maybe continuing in that same path, you recorded a cover version of the Prophet song by Queen, and I'm a huge Queen fan, and I think you did a great job.
Cool, thanks.
I wanted to ask you, what was about the decision to cover such a complex song with only, well, you are 3 musicians in the studio, if I understood correctly, and also this is a not so very well known song to the casual listeners, not that Queen is so popular again.
Well, actually, Merlin, our drummer, he chose that song because we wanted to each pick a song and make a cover of it. And Ivo chose Mad World. I chose actually a classical piece, the Cold song. And Merlin chose the Prophet song. And we were listening to it and we thought, wow, this is like the perfect song to cover for us, because I don't know, we just kind of see ourselves within the song. It's very weird. But it also has this dramatic element, and I think we have that in our music as well. And we could just really imagine playing it ourselves, and we could hear how it would sound. And I think that's the most important thing when making a cover. And we also didn't want to copy it in any way. We wanted to make it our own. And we realized it's really, really brave to cover Queen, because, it can go really wrong, and it's such an amazing band. But I think so far people really enjoyed what we did.
Yeah, maybe moving a little bit towards the future, like I was thinking that given the dark topics that the spell dealt with, and it is quite different from This Is the Sound, which had some brighter moments. Have you already discussed within the band what's gonna be the next step in your career? What kind of direction you would like to take?
We haven't really talked about it yet, because the spell, it was a really, really long and very intense journey for us. It took a lot of energy. And I think it's going to be hard for us to decide what we're going to do next, because honestly, now that we've done a concept album, it's really hard imagining doing something that's not a concept album, because it makes so much sense. Every song is connected. It's not just random eclectic songwriting like we did before. But what we might actually do is, because we had one song that didn't make it on the album, just because it was too different, and it was in the realm of the story, but kind of set loose from the others. So we might release that one at some point next year.
Yeah, but do you have any time frame or like any, any deals with the record company that you have to pull out a new record in a determined time frame, or do you have freedom to?
No, we're actually really free with the time frame. I mean, I don't think that we can wait for like 5 years, and we also wouldn't want to do that, but there's no like deadline or anything. We can just take our time and work on new music. And I think that's also really important, because, music shouldn't be like factory work, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Nowadays there's not so much pressure apparently, because records is not the main thing. And then we're gonna talk about the tour now, and the Spell tour has included so far UK plus Ireland, Central Europe, some summer European festivals, and Latin America. And I wanted to ask you, what have been the highlights of the tour for you until now?
I think everything we did so far has been a small highlight in itself, and really positive ones too, because we actually went to the UK first because we're received very well over there. And we didn't really know about this until we went there with This Is the Sound. And we had such amazing crowds there that we thought it would actually make sense to kind of celebrate the album release there as opposed to our home country, which is something pretty weird. The summer festivals were a huge surprise for me personally, because I don't really like festivals. And I always feel kind of uncomfortable, and I have a hard time connecting with the audience because it's not intimate, But the festivals that we did turned out to be really great, and we just did our own thing, and it kind of worked. Latin America was just a huge trip. It was a real adventure. It went from pure chaos, like building our own backline out of chairs and suitcases, to not sleeping and having power outages. It was crazy, but it was also really great because we have a very supportive fan base over there, and we got to see so many countries in such a short time, which was that was pretty surreal.
Yeah, actually, I noticed that one of your posts in Facebook or something, where you were saying that something went wrong in Peru, if I remember correctly, and everyone was wondering like what happened, if you were safe, or what was it something very serious, or?
In Colombia, we had a power outage, like just the power on the entire street went out for about an hour before our show, and they had to get like a generator, but then we could play without a problem, and that actually turned out being really great. And in Peru, the problem was that the venue, like, they had nothing. We didn't have a keyboard stand, we didn't have a drum stool, they didn't have enough cables, so our show got postponed for like 4 hours, and we built a lot of the stuff ourselves to just kind of manage to play some kind of show. So it was very chaotic, but I also kind of enjoy these kind of shows because they just have some weird energy that I like.
Yeah, and also based on what you put on social media, you seem to be a band that is very approachable to the fans. You have done this meet and greets without charging money for it, unlike many bands. And what kind of things have you discovered from meeting your fans, or like any surprises, pleasant or unpleasant?
We tend to get a lot of presents, which is always very nice. And I'm actually not a very approachable person usually. I'm pretty shy, and I don't like if I go out in my hometown, I don't really like to party or meet tons of people. So at first, it was weird to present yourself in a different way and meet and hug all the people. But in the end, I think it's what adds to our show, and we would never, charge for something like that, because I think it's great that people go out and they pay for concert tickets. And I think especially nowadays, you really have to appreciate that as a musician and give an effort. And, that's why we do it in the end.
Yeah. Maybe on the same note, since you have probably talked with many of your fans during the tour, do you think that most of the Cellar Darling fan base is people who used to follow you guys since your days on Elevati, or do you think that this new band appeals to a different group of listeners, or is it 50-50? Or
I think it's both. I think we still have some fans that came with us from Elevati. I think there's also a lot of people who just enjoy both bands, but we're starting to slowly gather fans from a completely different scene. And me personally, I'm always excited when I meet people who have never heard of us before, because that kind of proves that they just listened to our new music and they were a fan of that. So, but I think we still have to work hard on kind of finding our fan base, because I think there's a lot of people who don't know us, but that would probably enjoy our music. And that's why what we need to do is just tour and tour.
yeah, and well, your first concert in Finland was in the John Smith Rock Festival last summer, and how did you perceive the Finnish audience, like seeing Cellar Darling for the first time, maybe not knowing what they were about to see?
I actually loved it there. I thought the festival itself was just amazing. The hospitality was incredible. We jumped in the lake after the show, and the show itself, I absolutely loved it. There were some fans that were singing along the lyrics, which I thought was amazing, because I honestly didn't know how many people would know us there. And I think for the time of day, there were quite a few people already. So it was absolutely a great journey.
Yeah, and what kind of surprises can you promise for the upcoming gigs in November, both in Tampere and Helsinki?
It's going to be quite a mixed show, like as far as feelings go, because we're going to play probably an equal amount of songs from both of our albums, because there's a lot of people who haven't seen us yet, and I think it would be a shame to kind of ignore This Is the Sound. But our show is going to be divided into two parts, and one of them's going to be darker and the other one's going to be a bit lighter and more energetic. So you can expect that. And we're actually rehearsing some new songs now. I'm not sure if we'll actually play them, because that kind of is determined on whether they suck or not. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Like, we're definitely a band where you just kind of have to listen and take it in. We're not a party band or anything like that. We just, with us, it's all atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure that the place where you're gonna play it, at least in Helsinki, I'm familiar with it, it's gonna work very well. It's quite
cool. Yeah,
small.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's quite a small place, so like everyone's gonna be it's gonna be very intimate. So, well, I think I have covered my questions. Would you like to send a message to your Finnish fans, invite them to listen to your new album, come to your shows with Forever Still
Yeah,
and Oceans?
definitely. I absolutely can't wait to play in Finland. I really love it there. It's such a beautiful country, and we know a lot of people from there, because we've toured with so many bands from Finland, and I love the humor and the people there. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be amazing.
I don't know if you were planning to do the same type of thing, meeting the fans here in Helsinki, but maybe.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe we could have a quick chat then. I'll let you know that it's me.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, just come up to us after the show. It's cool that you're coming.
Yeah, definitely. Wouldn't miss it.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Then I'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you then. Bye bye. Have a nice
Cool.
day.
Thanks for
Take
the
care.
interview.
Yeah, thank you.